Shavua Tov, Bagu Tevoch. This week, as we are beginning the month of Elul, Chodesh Tov, a good Chodesh, we are starting a special moment. There is a well-known story of HaMelech Basade, the king in the field. It's a Hasidic mashal, it's an allegoric story of people who want to speak to a king and have to go through many filters. They have to go through the guards of the palace and the ministers and make a special appointment and go to the court of the king and wait for a chance to speak to the king. And then the time is very short, the king is very busy. And once a year, everything is waived and the king wavered, and the king comes to the field outside and talks directly to the peasants who would not otherwise get to speak to the king. And the idea of a Melech Basadeh, when the month of Elul begins, is that the king of kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, Hashem, comes to the field, to our lives, in front of us, and even every moment we can approach him. We can approach the king, we can be connected and prepare during this month for the time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The story of the Baal Shem Tov from the book Shivchei Baal Shem Tov I will tell is story number 39, telling the story of the Mochiach of the city of Polonnoye and the Rav of the city of Polonnoye, or Polonnoye, which is a city near the area where the Baal Shem Tov lived, in Podolia, which at the time was Poland and today is Western Ukraine. And both the Rav of the city of Polonnoye, which is Rav Yaakov Yosef, whom I spoke to about last time and will continue the next couple of times, and the Mochiach, Rav Yehuda Leib of Polonnoye, as well as the Rav Gedalia that I mentioned here, they're all buried. The three graves are together there in that city of Polonnoye, or Polonnoye. Continuing with the story from last week, it says, and the rest of this story I heard from the Rav of our community, Rav Gedalia of Polonnoye, of blessed memory, and he heard from Rav Yaakov Yosef, and it's above mentioned, the author of the book Toldos Yaakov Yosef, and a few other famous books, the early Hasidic masterpieces. So the Mochiach, Rav Yehuda Leib, was one of the first ones who came and influenced Rav Yaakov Yosef to become a Chassid, to be a follower of the Baal Shem Tov. So the Mochiach came to Rav Yaakov Yosef when he was the Rav of the community of Sharigrot, which I mentioned last time, Sharahorot in the Ukraine. And he came to spend Shabbat by him, and he asked if he can stay with him in his house. And Rav Yaakov Yosef did not answer him empty, meaning he accepted, come and stay in my house. And he asked if he can pray in his house, which the Rav Yaakov Yosef, accepted, but he himself, Rav Yaakov Yosef, would go to shul, would go pray in the synagogue, not in his own house. In Shabbos, this Rav Yehuda Leib, the Mochiach of Polonnoye, was going to give a drasha. He was going to speak to the people who pray in the house and ask Rav Yaakov Yosef to come to hear his drasha, his speech. And in the speech, in the drasha, started speaking about Rav Yaakov Yosef and described him in an incredible amount of detail, from head to toe, literally, which Rabbi Yaakov Yosef heard, and he said, he must be a Navi, he must be a prophet. You know, how does he know what I have in my own head, in my thoughts, things that I haven't told anyone, and he's teaching my teachings? So it created a connection in the vacuous, in fact, between the two, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef and the Mochiach. And then he asked, or the people of the community asked that he would come to have Seudah Shlishit, the third meal of Shabbos, with them in the shul, which by Hasidim also is a strong old tradition to spend the time of Shalashidus, the time of the third meal of Shabbos, Shabbos afternoon after Mincha, in the shul, and the Hasidim would gather and discuss. And so the Mochiach of Polonnoye came, and many people came thinking or knowing that he was not attached to the Hasidim. But when he starts speaking out and mentioning the ways of Hasidus, people of that town started to argue against him or with him, and it caused him great opposition, anger, hatred. People were not ready to accept Hasidus. And there was a machlokes, there was an argument against the way he was doing, and it was a very strong machlokes. Finally, there was against Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, the Rav of the city. Why is he bringing this man, this chassid? And when the thoughts of Rabbi Yaakov Yosef are being revealed to be attached to the ideas of Hasidus, the community expelled him from the city of Shargorod. They kicked him out. So by next, the kick him out was the next eve of Shabbos, the next Friday before Shabbos, and he was forced to spend Shabbos in a small town nearby. And it came to the ears of the Baal Shem Tov, who was not far from there. And the Baal Shem Tov saw from the distance that this was happening. And he told the Hasidim that were with him, we are going to go to this kfar, to this city, this town near Shargorod, because I heard that there is a big tzar, a big problem there. And we'll come back with the Rav of the Kehillah of Shargorod. And we will help him to open up his problem. And so they did. They went and they spent Shabbos with him there. And the Mochiach was there with them as well. The Mochiach of Polonnoye was there too. In Shabbos, after the Tefillah of Musaf, he saw that Rabbi Yaakov Yosef was affected, was saddened by the fact that he had lost his position of Rav in Shargorod. He was kicked out. And he told him, don't worry, I have heard an announcement from heaven. I had a revelation. This is the Rabbi the Mochiach of Polonnoye. He says, I heard a chruz, a revelation from above, and so who hates you will be killed, and so and who hates you will die in an accident on the way, and there will be a fire that will destroy part of the city. When the Baal Shem Tov heard him saying such things, raised his voice at him and told him, Shoite, damn, why are you listening to those cruising, to those announcements from above? Not your place to mingle in this. And so the Mochiach became silent. Which reminds me of a time, there was a man who also came to the Rebbe to ask him to curse the enemies of Israel, and the Rebbe says, should nothing be quoted from me other than blessings. There's a certain place for things. Should be a month, a week, a month, and a year of blessings. Shavua Tov, a good Tevoch, Shana Tova, Umetuka, a good, blessed, good year. As we say in Yiddish, a good, zizig event year.